I'm an off-duty grammar police officer, and today I wanted to talk about something important. Because some people just really make me mad. I'm not gonna lie, some people just literally, their stupidity inspires me to make a video. And today, the subject is using a term incorrectly. The term we're talking about is turned off. I'll give you a little context. Last night I was scrolling on my cell phone and I was watching some YouTube videos, trying to relax my mind, and there was a video of a stranger going up to people giving them compliments, And it was pretty entertaining. The last clip there was a woman and she was at the store and she had a grocery cart and he approached her and threw all these compliments at her. And he asked to turn to the side so he can see her side profile because he wanted to see the bun in her hair. And she backed away with the cart. Okay. So I went to the comment section because I thought it was kind of funny, but at the same time just a little bit unsettling. And I wanted to see other people's thoughts on it, and somebody said maybe she was completely turned off by an overly flamboyant gay man giving her compliments. I was like, okay, it's a little crazy. It's a little bit of a wild assumption, but I believe, I think she was a little bit, turned off by being filmed and being given compliments and not being necessarily, especially since you're being filmed, you don't really know if it's sincere. Anyway, somebody said that, and oh boy, the reaction. Turned off? As if she was turned on by a stranger to begin with. Seriously? What is wrong with you? How confidently wrong they were. They really thought it meant something sexual, and they kept coming back anytime somebody said it doesn't always mean something sexual. They were giving examples. They were like, well, you can turn off a light switch. Does that mean it was originally aroused by you? That's different. Okay, they can argue that. That's right, that is different. And then they were saying, just all sorts of different examples. They still didn't believe it. So then we came out with the big guns. Google. Two of my allies in this case, who I don't know, but they took the right turn. They knew what they were doing. They Googled, is being turned off by something always a sexual term? And the answer was, no. Being turned off is a general term for loss of interest or finding something unappealing. People use it for anything from food and smells to a person's attitude or a specific hobby. It simply means something is a deal breaker or repellent in that moment. Then I said, so I just Googled turned off definition. And what I got was lack of interest or dislike. Two examples of it being used in a sentence was, I was really turned off by his arrogant attitude, or that movie was so violent it really turned me off. And one could argue, maybe they could have used put off as a synonym for the sentence, but it's so similar and it's so obvious that it's not even a sexual term at all. And after I said that, they said, okay, whatever floats your boat. No, it's literally, we're giving you objective answers. This is not your opinion, okay? Look, I understand, first of all, you start off with an argument, right? You think you're right about something. And people are, arguing with their opinions as well. So naturally, that's not gonna go anywhere because you're just using opinions. But when somebody brings out facts, they Google something. Several people Google the same thing and give you word for word the same reply. Then an additional person Googles something similar and gives you a synonymous response. That should tell you that that is the true objective answer, that there is no argument over it, but that is the correct way. When the Merriam-Webster Dictionary and the Urban Dictionary are being used, several different responses from several different sources giving you the same answer, then that should tell you that you were wrong. And in that moment, you should swallow your tongue and accept it. Just accept the fact that you were wrong and move on from it. Educate yourself and continue to use a sentence more properly. Expand your mind. to the idea that in the English language, rarely is there ever a term or word that only has one meaning. The only word usually that has one meaning is no. And I bet they don't know that because they think everything's sexual. They think it couldn't possibly be the fact that there's a word in the English language that has a sexual connotation, and it can also be used in a neutral term, in a neutral way. They can't possibly wrap their brain around that. And I don't know if that says something about the person or if it says something about society, because things in society are so warped and so put into this disgusting lens of glamorized sexualization that it's hard to even conceptualize the fact that something is not sexual for once, that something is wholesome. And I can understand that because I've listened to songs before, and the lyrics are completely normal. They weren't designed to be, interpreted in that way. And my mind, naturally, as a defense mechanism, or based on what I expected, because this is what I expect out of the music industry, my mind interpreted the lyrics as a sex song. And in retrospect, listening to the song for the second time, realized it wasn't about that at all. And that's just what your brain is preset to because it's what it expects from society. So maybe it's not their fault initially to believe that. But when there are multiple people, strangers, people you don't know personally, what would they have against you? There is no bias. They're neutral people in this conversation, and they're coming at you with facts, proving to you that this word is not sexual at all. You should believe them, and you should humble yourself, and you should be glad that this word has multiple meanings, and that they weren't saying that somebody was turned on by a stranger in a sexual sense. That's really all it should be, and then you should educate yourself about words. Look, I'm Gen Z, and I'm almost nearly convinced that they are too. I grew up with a Gen X parent and a millennial parent. Their age group, they're like about, I think I want to say like maybe 7-8 years apart. I don't know. I grew up watching a lot of old television programs. I watched programs from the 50s to the 90s, sitcoms and talk shows alike. So I'm very well educated in different types of language and different dialect throughout the years in America and how people use certain words. And not only that, but in conversation with people I know, people of several age groups, I have and other people have used the term turned off, and never once did it come through our minds that it was a sexual term. And yes, it can be used in that way, and it has, and it very well is known to be. But it's not always the case. I read books. I read classical literature. I read Edgar Allan Poe. When he says something is queer, it is not homosexual. It means it's weird. Have you ever heard, what's this from the musical with Tim Burton, A Nightmare Before Christmas? What's this? They've got a little tree. How queer. That means how weird, how strange, how bizarre, how out of the ordinary, how eye-catching. Not homosexual. And that's a whole different thing in of itself. But then, maybe he ejaculated a gesture. Maybe he jumped up out of his chair and threw his arms up like Super Mario. He ejaculated his arm. It doesn't mean he, excuse my gestures, but it is not like that at all. Or he stood erect. Homo erectus. That is us. Well, not me, but that is a human being, a Homo erectus. It means that same straight. We stand up straight. We do not walk vertically. That's what that means. And so many other strange things that you would immediately think, hey, that's kind of, no, it's not. Just think about the context. If it was everything else in that sentence sexual, no. So, That should send alarm bells to your brain like, hey, wait a minute, something's off about this. Let's look it up. Let's do a quick Google search. Oh, that's cool. It doesn't mean what I thought it meant. That means that you can use this term in different ways. That gives your vocabulary an expansion pack, a variety. And that's a cool thing, dude. But bro just wanted to reject it. Look, I remember I was in, 7th grade. Oh, and everybody starts being so dirty-minded during those times, don't they? Yeah, I remember that. And I said something. Somebody said something in the class. I don't know. Said something turned them on. And I'm pretty sure, like as before, it was not in a sexual, meaning. And everyone went, oh. According to people in my generation, I don't know why, I've said it before, every time I've used the term, their reaction is the biggest reaction of all. If you say turned on, to them, that's like the highest level of, like, spicy. To them, that means, like, oh my god, your eyes are gonna roll back in the back of your head. That's how strong of a term it is. That it turns you on. Even though it's half of the time not even like that. But I don't know how it got there, how it got that way, but some reason people my age, or at least back then, maybe we've grown up and matured since then, except that one person, but at least during that time, everyone my age thought like, oh my god, that's like such a spicy thing, don't you dare say that. Nah, bro, just grow up, educate yourself, please, I'm begging you. You should be very educated on the language you are speaking. You use this language every day to communicate with other people. You should know as much about it as possible, or at least make a little effort to do so. And I get it. Maybe you don't need to hit the books or constantly be Googling stuff every day, but if you find yourself in a situation where you question the definition of something and people are arguing with you about it and telling you that they're wrong and giving you factual information to prove otherwise, you should take that, humble yourself, educate yourself, and grow from it. Not continue to be confidently wrong and look like an idiot. This person's stupidity has honestly inspired me, and if you're watching this here, you can thank them. Because, I guess it got them somewhere, probably not where they wanted to, but hey, something good came out of it, right? Maybe somebody here learned something today, and I hope you did. And if you enjoyed this, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. You're really cool. And, yeah. If you got anything to add to that, any, like, weird words that you were surprised by what they actually meant, just throw them in the comments. Let's hear it. I want to learn, man. I want to grow. Bye.